What is with the absurd tipping culture in the US? As a broke college student who has lived abroad most of my life, it has almost been a cultural shock to see how entitled service workers act towards tips. In no other country that I've been in has it been this way. Servers always give you excellent service no matter if you tip or not. Shouldn't that be the norm? I can't tell you the number of times I've gotten dirty looks from servers if I left less than a 20. And it's really starting to get to me now. If anything, for good food, the chef deserves a good tip. Why the server? A tip is supposed to be for excellent service, and even then it's optional. I know they make less money. But why is that responsibility on my shoulders? I want to tip out of the kindness of my heart. Not because it's customary or a requirement. That completely defeats the purpose of tipping. Now people tip so that they don't receive shitty service. Which is also so weird. You should get good service regardless. If you're not getting paid enough as a server, it is your employer's fault, is it not? Every other job requires the employer to pay a living wage. Except these service jobs apparently. I know it's customary and considered rude to not tip. But let me tell you guys. In almost every other country you'll get amazing service because you're a customer and it's the server's job to give you a good service. I'm genuinely curious to know what the reason is for this tipping culture. Why pay your employees when you can make your customers do it? The propaganda to make us not hold business owners and managers accountable for anything is quite effective here. I started picking up food and eating at home when I do order out so I don't have to tip. I love my prices reflecting the amount of money I have to pay. What's with the price tags in American shops? Seems like tipping is something similar. Price tag says 3.78. But at the cash register, they ask me 4.99. In a normal country, money goes through the cash register. Taxes are collected. Workers get paid. All is transparent and honest. Restaurant owners lobby hard to avoid paying their employees a proper wage. Pretty sure I got a snarky "have a blessed day" from the drive-through person at Subway yesterday. I'm not tipping drive-through. Sorry, not sorry. I don't order online for delivery anymore. Technically, even when I didn't have any money to tip and they were always understanding and polite. I just feel like it's getting out of hand. I don't really care if I get looks for tipping at a restaurant the minimum of what the total is. The employer needs to pay living wages, and I am not going to further contribute to this toxic tipping culture. I will start going out less and less to restaurants where tipping has become the complete norm to a livable wage for servers. Tipping in the US is aggressive begging. If there was a decent basic wage, tipping could be what it was originally designed and defined to be: optional and discretionary. Owners cannot pay their workers while the underpaid servers can guilt-trip their customers and take home a bunch in guilt money in the process. The customer loses. TBH, in Europe I don't think I've ever gotten what an American might refer to as excellent service. What I generally get is benign indifference, which I prefer. Feels more honest, but in America I just always tip exactly 20 no matter what. Never under any circumstances less. Never under any circumstances more. This is also true in Canada. A lot of American culture goes up to the northern neighbor. One waitress at a bar essentially argued with my friend, saying, "No, you can't just tip me that much." Genuine question. I'm I the EU. Apart from a dirty look, what happens if you don't tip? Like, sorry. Tipping is not mandatory and I'm not into this culture. So bye. Edit. This was a question and I know about respecting local culture. I have more questions. Does the tip go to the server? How do we know? How does anyone know? Wouldn't a shitty employer who doesn't pay a living wage keep the tips for himself? Seems like a social agreement thing. You're expected to pay them a portion of their wage directly and they can't really do anything to enforce it. Restaurant owners seem to have stumbled onto a wonderful money-saving life hack, and like with most things you simply decide ain't your problem. It became everyone else's problem. Services like DoorDash make you tip before you even receive service. So technically you can give money and still receive shitty service. Tipping culture has gotten extremely out of hand. Just make it more transparent. That way people don't get mad about paying more than they actually can be. One firm set price. Taxes included. Business gets paid. Taxes are accounted for. And employee gets paid their rightful wage. Yeah, it's fucking stupid. A tip should be fully optional. The amount even more so. And 20 being a norm is absolute insane. But I mean, guess it's just one of them Moroccan things. Just makes me glad I don't exist there XD. Tipping and tax both absolutely suck in the ass, and I wish they would both go away for a better system. What I don't agree with is the rose-colored idea that everywhere else in the world has amazing service. There is bad service everywhere. A lot of the reason it hasn't changed is because servers make way more off of tips than a flat rate. I know many people from my hometown were making $60 an hour at nice places and $30-40-ish at smaller establishments. If business owners were able to provide that wage for the bottom line who are not as fortunate to make that would be great. But restaurants already have very tight margins, so that will never happen. Restaurants don't want to pay more and servers prefer tips, usually because they'd make more in tips alone compared to a higher wage. This is why I only do take out and won't actually eat at a restaurant anymore. Tipping culture is absurd at this point. The only ethical answer here is if you are eating out in America and refuse tipping. To eat exclusively at living wage certified restaurants. They exist and they advertise it. Otherwise you're just being an R. People expect you to respect their culture when visiting. And this is part of American culture. I don't like it either. But stiffing your server doesn't help anyone. I usually think non-American Redditors' critiques of the states are unhinged. But in this particular case I have to agree with you. It is a terrible system. But then the misplaced anger towards shitty pay couldn't be displaced onto the employer's clientele instead of the employer. You have to stop thinking of America as a normal country. It simply is not. And this is just another one of those things. Non-American here. Some people think waiters' servants don't deserve more than their min wage, so they will be against them having more wage. But then the employees need more money to make their ends meet. So they made up this stupid thing. Forcing customers to tip but not employers to pay more when employees can't get tip they guilt trip or serve bad on purpose. You, as customer, are stuck in between. Tipping is extremely out of hand. When you pick up a pizza to carry out and the cashier cops a tood if you don't tip when the card reader is 15, 20, 25. I told her 0 tips. She was pissed off. This is bullshit.